treasure we found. Fitting reward for a rigorous search. Here we go again. To arms! Well aware of this.
Hello and welcome to a video preview of Dragon's Dogma 2. No beating around the bush here. My name's Adam Cook and Chris White's here. And hello, Chris. You've played a fair bit of this game, right?
Oh yes, yeah. Played about 3 hours of it. I got to see 2 of the vocations, which was the archer and the mystic spearhand. Each one taking place in a different region of the world of Dragon's Dogma 2. One in Battahl, which was where the archer was, which is like a kind of sandy, canyony, American West kind of area, and then which is like a grassy forestry area, kind of like the sort of place you'd see in like that kind of thing. But yeah, both equally interesting and versatile in terms of like the different combat options for each of the vocations. But yeah, really impressed with it so far, Adam.
Well, I'm going to start by putting you on the spot a little bit because the first thing you texted me after having had this mammoth session with the game is, well, I won't swear because we will monetize our video, but I think it was "F me, this is incredible" or something like that.
Yeah.
I went to Capcom, I think it was last year now. It must have been, with Sean, and with our first look at the game hands-on, and it was more of like the TGS style demo, whereas what you've played is a much more substantial part of the game. I mean, you've had more time for a start.
Yeah.
What does it feel like?
Okay, so it took a while to get used to the first hour and a half was spent with the archer, so it took a bit of time getting used to how it works, like how the different arrows, different skills all trigger and how you use them in combat. So you can quick fire your different types of arrows. So in the preview, I mean, I don't know what it will be like with full release, whether you'd be able to upgrade and add stuff or whatnot, but there was fire arrows, ice arrows, and then these ricochet arrows, and you can switch between them and quick fire them whenever you wanted at different enemies, and obviously different enemies have different weaknesses and so forth. Some are resistant to magical attacks, but getting used to switching between them and also utilizing like the abilities for each one as well took a bit of time, because you basically press in R1, which kind of builds up the damage to be dealt with, and then the actual ability itself. And with a fire arrow, you can use it like the batarangs in the Arkham games. That's the kind of best way I can kind of explain it. The homing ones, where you follow the path of the arrow towards an enemy and do damage that way. And then the ice arrows, you can power them up to basically change the area of attack, so you can make the circle bigger or smaller, and the bigger it is, the more enemies it'll take out or fire at in that moment. And then the ricochet arrows, which are best used in like tight spaces with surrounding walls and ceilings and stuff, because they just bounce off everything and cause absolute devastation. So you can like really mix it up with the archer. And obviously, being an archer, you're playing at range. It's not wise to get in too close. Well, that's kind of what your party's for. The different pawns. But yeah, generally the archer it wasn't my favorite, but it was still incredible to like play as. But it was kind of like the moments that made it, which we'll get into in a bit. But like the other vocation I got to play as was the mystic spearhand, which is a lot more kind of close combat. And you've got your light and heavy attacks with it, so you can like bash the square and the triangle to kind of attack them from close range, standard. Then you like with using the R1 again, which is kind of like your skills button, you can cast a kind of shield around you, which gives you temporary immunity from attack. You could also throw a load of enemies in the air and like freeze them temporarily in like a stasis. You can hit an enemy and then transport to it from a distance, whether it's in the air or down on the ground. You can also trigger like a little animation with another skill where you batter the hell out of someone, and then it kind of gives you an animation like you will get at the end of like a combo in Assassin's Creed, that kind of thing. So two different vocations, very different to play as. Only a small fraction of what we're going to get when we see the main game.
So hang on. So the two vocations you mentioned there, like one's obviously they're very different by the sounds of it.
Very different, yeah.
So the stuff that you can do on R1, like the additional stuff, are these all? Did you get the impression like specific to that vocation, or could you have?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you can't have an archer that can do the skills you mentioned with.
No, going back to what I was saying about the different moments in the game, they're what kind of made me text you and go, yeah, this is incredible. And it was just like random, like reminds me a lot of Monster Hunter in that sense. Like when you going out on a hunt and you had to take down one specific monster, and you would all rally around and try and attack it, wear it down, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, this other monster would just come charging in, start attacking that monster and you, and just creating these moments where you're like, oh my god, this looks incredible. This is very random, and that's what happens here. Like in the preview, I mentioned about fighting this rock golem in the first area of Battahl, and all of a sudden you hear this screech and this shadow kind of cast across the battlefield, and this massive griffin kind of like just lands in the center, starts beating up the golem, and I'm like, shit, like what am I supposed to do? Do I carry on? Whatever. So I start attacking the golem, leave the griffin alone to kind of do what he's doing. But then he starts obviously fighting us. So it's like this massive battle that goes on for, it felt like hours, but it was only like 10, 15 minutes. But it was just intense. And like there's another moment that really kind of stands out was where I was in Vermund, and I was on top of this rock face looking down, and there was this ogre down below. I jump off the rock edge, land on its head, start stabbing him with my spear, and after a few seconds, he throws me off into the brine. Now, if you remember the brine from the original game, which is basically like this red, misty stuff that's in there, and if you stay in the water too long, it'll basically swallow you up and rip you to shreds. It threw me into the water and hence threw me into the brine. I was slowly starting to like succumb to it. He followed me in like an idiot, and then also got consumed by the brine. We both kind of like disappeared in this big red wealth of liquid and gore and stuff. So stuff like that, just random encounters that happened a lot, and that's what I'm looking forward to. Like this world feels very much alive, where anything kind of happened, and you kind of like the preview itself. There was no real quests. There was no goal for me. I was just told, just go and do what you want. Go and play it, explore.
But I feel like that's kind of always been the point. I mean, Dragon's Dogma it feels like a very long time ago. I mean, I remember it was on the 360, that era, so we are a few consoles deep, so that's gives you an indication of how long ago it was. And I do think a lot of people also thought this game might never come. And that's why I think there's definitely a lot of excitement around it. But I'll be honest with you, my memory now of the original is mostly how many times I've bought it for like £3 on different consoles, because it seems to just constantly be being discounted. And I remember the pawn system as the kind of, not selling point, but one of the big things that nobody else had kind of done. And like from a lot of the footage that you've captured and some that Capcom have provided, it seems to be retaining that pawn system. Like as I understand it, there's no multiplayer again. It is, well, the pawn system is sort of, I know you could borrow and loan them out, sort of thing, and I expect that's back. But like, how? Because a lot's changed in gaming since that original game, and I can't remember the specifics. But when you were mentioning the bow and arrow, the ranged classes, you were mentioning like the pawns and stuff are going to be that you don't go close. That's what you get your pawns for. How's the like AI of what you experienced? Because I will say, when I saw the original build, the first build, I was quite impressed by how stuck in they get. And I was wondering now, that we're further along. I mean, we're not far off release at this point, but I was wondering what the AI is like for the pawns and stuff.
Yeah, so like I said, the kind of main focus was just getting let loose, not looking at any systems or menus and stuff. So there was no real like option for me to check out the pawn setup and their
Right,
like,
you just sort of had what you had.
However, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But however, like the AI, you like the Griffin fight and the Golem fight, like they do get stuck in, and they do seem they're all using their own abilities in tandem, and you do kind of get used to your role as the archer. But like it was tough knowing what they could do and what they couldn't do because I wasn't like privy to that. But like their AI seems incredibly smart. They seem to die quite a bit. Because one of the skills of the archer is you can fire another arrow, which can heal them or revive them.
I love that.
So like that's pretty cool. You know, if you don't want to get in too close, you want to kind of act as a healer, like that range. You can do that as well. And so one of the pawns was like this tank of a knight. They were getting stuck in, and there was so there's a lot of different variety, but I didn't really get to experiment too much.
That's fine. I've got to ask because it was just one of those things I saw. But like, so does it feel like it's taken cues from? You mentioned Monster Hunter, and when you were talking about like being the ranged again, I keep focused on the ranged one, but like when you were talking about being able to heal from distance, it does bring to mind a couple of the sort of classes in Monster Hunter. What's your memory like of the original? Like how what do you fit? Did you come away feeling like is anything vastly different, or this is very much Dragon's Dogma 2 in a modern era where it looks great and it plays smoother? Like what did you sort of come away in that respect feeling?
Yeah, it feels like Dragon's Dogma, the original, not remade in the present day because I don't want to undermine it because it feels like it's an incredible game to play, but it feels very much like Dragon's Dogma if it was made today, with the bells and whistles of the different vocations, like the more kind of organic nature of play, where you just go out and a load of different stuff happens. Like it didn't feel that distant or dissimilar to the original. Like it felt familiar and it felt like home and it felt like I was back, but also not. Like like for fans that love the original, it feels amazing to play. Like it does feel new and it does feel fresh and it doesn't feel like you're playing a 10-year-old game at all. But it does have that familiarity that fans are going to be used to and fans are going to have loved from the original, with cues from stuff like Monster Hunter. Like that, I don't want to keep comparing it to that because it's not like Monster Hunter. You went out on a mission, did it, went home. Like this, all these encounters and stuff happen just organically when you're just out in the world doing your quest, doing whatever you're doing. Like, so it's just incredible. Like, you always kind of, with preview events, you see a small portion of the game, so you never fully know what the full game is going to be like. But you like to think that what you're seeing is going to be a common theme throughout the game when it fully releases. So I'm confident. I think they know what they're doing. It'll be interesting to see how all the different vocations work, how the customization works with your pawns, and like building that party. You can welcome all different. Like, I don't actually mention it in the preview, but like I was wandering around and I spoke to this one person who like I could have invited to be into my party as a like a pawn, and I'm feeling like that happens quite regularly. Like you can meet quite a few of them all around and stuff. But yeah, it's just really good, man. And I think it's gonna be interesting to see how it fits in, with the other big releases of the year.
Well, I suppose the only thing I should ask really before we get out of here then is that you went to Capcom obviously to play this and you were pretty excited to do so and you came away, pretty impressed by the sounds of it. Where does it sit? You mentioned in terms of all these other releases and stuff, like how badly do you want to be playing it right now? Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Is it up there? Like, is it? Because I mean, it is for those who just randomly fell upon this video. This is a game that is very popular with almost everyone on the team. It's certainly your genre as well, and your sort of setting and all that. So like,
I need that fantasy game. I miss Elden Ring. I miss that fantasy world. I mean, it's nothing like Elden Ring, so people don't get excited.
Careful.
Don't get excited. But like, just that fantasy world, the ability to just enjoy that exploration in it. I'm very excited to play it. Like, I can't wait to see how the full game lines up. And I think I don't think people are going to be disappointed. But again, it's going to be a massive game, so we'll see.
Yes.
But from those 3 hours, from that preview, I'm very excited to play more when it comes out.
I must admit, you've nailed what I'm looking forward to doing the most, as well as that I can't wait to just get in that world and just almost Breath of the Wild, like just walk towards somewhere and see what I find.
I can't think of anything else coming out other than the Shadow of the Erd Tree, which is kind of that fantasy setting and that exploration, that big world. So yeah.
Well, there you go. You can go to godisgeek.com and read Chris's formal Dragon's Dogma 2 preview. This is an accompanying piece where we just chat a bit about it, show you some of the stuff he saw from the footage he captured. Thank you, Chris, for being here. Thank you for attending and playing. Bit jealous,
thank you.
if I'm honest. Really, really looking forward to this. Every time I see it, it just looks cooler. If you did enjoy this video, you can go to godisgeek.com and see more. You can go to patreon.com/godisgeek to find out about our community. We have a Discord and lots of people on there, and we have some fun stuff going on there. And our podcast is on YouTube. Search the name of the site, you'll find us. And if you are a returning visitor, thank you for being one of those as well. Chris, we'll speak to you in the next one.
Yeah, see you later, mate.
And everybody else, speak to you later. Bye-bye for now.